Hello, community, and welcome to this live. Hi, Catherine.
Hi, Jen. Hi, everyone.
So we wanted to share today about leading and breakthroughing from dream to reality, which is going to be the subject of our free masterclass happening tomorrow, April 1st at 11 Eastern time. And we're both in a deep surrender lately and learning to go even faster, you know, coming from a place of whispers of the soul, whispers that we receive, you know, from our bodies. And we want to really, really insist on this subject, which is from dream to reality, because we see a lot of people stuck and frustrated because they have visions and they have projects and they have babies they want to give birth to, but somehow things are not moving, or somehow they plan for these projects to come to life, but the plan doesn't work, because once we surrender to really a soul calling, nothing that we actually have planned happens. And that's the reality of it. We really, really surrender into a mystery, and we actually trust our body temple so much that it is following a guidance. So the more we create space inside our bodies, the more we have that space to hear those whispers. And you will see that it becomes so oiled at one point that you start moving, and it's kind of instinctive. It's a combination of intuition and instinct. And you feel also at the same time that there's something bigger than you that is actually guiding the process and leading the process. So when we speak about leading from dream to reality, is actually allowing the reality of your body to operate. So this doesn't mean to, you know, to stay in La La Land and, I'm gonna say this very rawly, like masturbate in dream, you know, and keep your attention just like in this fantasy, which at the end of the day becomes an escape from reality, but really like being humble enough and looking at reality and saying, hey, I see this vision coming my way. What is required? You know, one of our coaches say this, what's the calling, what's required, and what's the plan? And again, the plan is in this case is receiving the whispers of the plan rather than, you know, from an engineering mind planning from A to B. And as we surrender, both Catherine and myself, more and more into that process, I was just telling her, we were having a meeting on how much there's so much information coming that my mind cannot even operate, you know, like that's to the extent. What I mean by this is that I cannot use this analytical brain anymore, because there's so much subtleties of information and things manifest so fast in such a precise way that to see the manifestations requires a lot of this energy that we bring in the moment. And that's why we do all the work that we do. It's to actually bring all this attention in the present moment and to remove the filters that prevent us from seeing and receiving this information, from seeing these things manifest in front of our eyes, from paying a deep, you know, deeply listening to the information that's coming your way, and also co-creating with the information and the feedbacks that you receive from the outside. And we insist on becoming a creatrix and being a creatrix. We're all born creators and creatrixes. And this path is about reclaiming that natural function of ours, meaning getting out of the way of that creator and allowing this to operate in reality, meaning like being in this reality, but also being in the magic of this reality, but not making it a fantasy, because it does require work, like we were sharing in different videos. It does require your yes, it does require that your machine is oiled enough. It does require that you take these actions with speed. Once you receive that whisper, no filters, no doubt. At one point it's like, okay, I'm in it. I'm in that movement. And you will notice that nothing is permanent. Nothing is absolute, that every step that you take in action actually opens the door of the next step. And what the thing is, the mind gets hooked. You get a feeling, you get an experience, you meet somebody, and you're like, you make it absolute, and you want it to stay stiff and to not move, because that's somehow, as humans, we gain kind of security and safety from this. But what if we were always in that juice of creation? What would be possible? And I'm experiencing in my body what's possible, but the invitation is for you to experience what's possible. And not rely on what we say necessarily, but with curiosity, if you feel a call towards this type of path, to go and bathe, even if it's a little bit, to gain that confidence and to gain that that trust on, on the path. So Catherine, I'll let you weave a little bit with this and I'll continue after.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing. What was coming my way, today and yesterday was really about like that deep surrender of like, show me how my will can like align even more with divine's will, and like that I may trust that flow. Just like every time I took those steps that took me where I am today, like leaving corporate and, like choosing to step out of, the path, the conventional path that I was in, and like learning to like love myself and honor myself and trust deeper, like, oh yeah, that's what I'm called to create, even though that doesn't have a name or nobody understands what it means. And it was just like every time it was me aligning and surrendering to a deeper wisdom that was taking me there. And it's always like there's always deeper levels of aligning and being in awe of what's offered, being in awe of what's possible when you don't try to make it happen. And I shared about this in the chapter of the book we both wrote in on collaboration. And the first breakthrough I got in manifestation, sorry for the background noise, was when I left it open, was when I said, like, I need space, show me the way. Instead of being like, I need a part-time job or like, and then I lost my job. And then that's how I stepped out of the path. And a lot of people, I've been speaking to some members of the community and some women this week and the past weeks. And, one woman was telling me like, I want what you have. Like, I don't want to be in that box anymore. I don't want to disrespect my body. I want to honor my gifts. I want to be in the spiritual realm. And like, but there's some actions that get to be taken. There's some choices that get to be taken. And that requires like really trusting and surrendering into that not knowing, into like, well, you're taken care of. You don't know how it's going to look like. You don't know how, but it happens, because there's a stronger force that supports you. Like life has your back when you're honoring the truth of the soul's journey, but also like the divine's will. And it sounds, it's all very spiritual and woo-woo, but really it's like, well, what if like, the sketch of life was different than just like get married, have kids, go to university, and go into 9 to 5. And life has been showing us that other ways are possible. Like you've seen it, you've experienced it, you've witnessed it, and it's like, yeah, there are other ways to lead your life. So do you create space to listen? Do you create space to receive the whispers? And we're talking about the body, but we're also talking about like the being, the inner being. And I always talk about that inner space. Like, there's a thread of guidance that shows you the steps to take, the path. And so there's so much wisdom and strength when you honor that, and when you learn to trust that, and when you learn to value that, that it doesn't come only from the mind. It doesn't come only from the, linear of like, if I do this, I'll get that. And like, I do this to have approval, and I do this to fit in. But, there's also like, Jen, you always refer to that, like, what are you designed for? What are you designed for? Like when you go back to the core of the blueprint of who you are. And so leading yourself through those breakthroughs to bridge from dream to reality is about finding your capacity to be the leader, of this path through your soul. not just by like putting down some goals, like I want to do this and that, because it comes from your mind, because it's more like it's a deeper path that's shown to you. And we've been walking this path, we've been walking this transformation of really blooming into our life, into our gifts, and through this transformation, through the physical body, the mental body, the spiritual body, the emotional body. And so there's all these tools and pathways, and you get to learn them as you experience them, as you create those spaces, as you say yes, as you step into, as you create new awareness. And so every yes counts, so our invitation is, we're offering a masterclass tomorrow. We're going to be teaching along those lines of like leading and having those breakthroughs, so that in the reality you feel satisfied. You feel like who you are outside represents who you are inside. There's a coherence, there's a resonance, there's an accomplishment that is so much more deeper than just like having a diploma, or like checking things from the to-do list in the busy corporate world. It's like, do I feel like I am who I am outside? There's the action.
Yeah. And I want to say also that it's really for you, if you're at this place where you're like, you deeply feel that something needs to change. I personally know that every time I was shifting life, it's because inside it was clear that the prayer that something needed to change. It was not coming from my mind. It was like my whole body was like, there's a new way, there's something pushing me. And in that push, I knew that something was going to change, but it was always coming with that, well, there's no other choice because I cannot continue the old way. And so if you hear this inside of you, if you're at this point where like, okay, something is changing, something's pushing, I don't know where to go, I don't know how to do this,
I don't know where to start.
I don't know where to start, and so instead of going in the planning, go in the prayer, go in the deep listening of like, okay, I see you, I feel you, that push, I'm acknowledging you, and I'm saying yes to you. Only starting with this is going to start opening the door. And then the calling is going to start pouring in, because your spirit knows, like your soul knows where it's taking you. And there's a frequency calling you. That's why you're actually feeling pressure in your actual reality, because there's a new calling, there's a new frequency that you are here to embody. And because it's already happening without you being conscious or not, it's happening. It's creating this pressure in your body. It's this pressure of transformation. Once you start feeling this pressure, it's either it's going to create or it's going to destroy, right? It's either going to go into thoughts and emotions and chaos and destruction and staying in the statu quo and making you miserable or even making you sick, or you bow to it and you're like, okay, I'm receiving this pressure. Something is about to change. I'm bowing to it. And then you become curious with that thread of energy that's taking you. And it's really happening, because your soul is always here trying to have you evolve into your next plateau. So the box that you're in might start cracking, but something else will start appearing. And for this to appear, you listen and you start accepting that your world as it is right now will change. And it's okay. So that's also, it's bridging the dream from reality, the new frequency into this embodiment. So I wanted to just bring this in if it resonates with people. So we'll be putting the link underneath the video as usual. It's a free masterclass tomorrow at 11 Eastern time. A masterclass with both Catherine and myself on this subject. And yes, so come if you feel that you're at this breakthrough point, and that you also want to be surrounded by people who are following this soul calling, and that it's a path that you really feel that you want to be choosing. That's the invitation.
Yes. See you tomorrow. Yes.
Tomorrow.
It's gonna be juicy and aligned with the needs of the collective. And so 90 minutes free masterclass. Looking forward to be of service and to tap into the energy and connect to all of you beautiful beings. Thank you, Jen.
Thank you, Kat. Thank you, everybody. See you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye. Oh, do you hear this?